Let it drift over, compensate for torque a little, and down she comes. Just a beautiful thing. And since we're getting all this nice speed, why don't we do a roll off the bottom? Bring the nose back up, and roll it around. Oh man, nothing like fighters. Oh, and they paid my dad to do this. I've always dreamed one day that maybe I'd slip back in time and get paid to do this.
On the Berlin raid of May 30th, 1944, my ship took 3 20mm hits from a 109. After recovering from a violent spin, I found that on the left side there was only a hole about the size of a golf ball in the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer. On the right side, the wingtip was missing. With the extra drag from the damaged wing, plus normal torque from the prop, I had to apply full left aileron trim and fly with the stick as far to the left as it would go. When I got back to a little altitude and things settled down, I let go of the stick to see what would happen. Before I could blink, the ship did the most vicious snap roll I ever experienced. I brought her in, wheels down, without incident. As I taxied back, everyone was looking, surprisingly not at the wing, but at the tail. When I stopped at my hard stand, I found out why. All the movable surface of the left horizontal stabilizer was gone. The leading edge with the hole in it was practically all that was left. The third 20mm shell that hit the ship was the scariest. That 109 was swinging from left to right while it was firing. The first one took the stabilizer. The third hit the wing and made it spin. When he fired the second one, he was dead astern. It left a 2-foot crease along the fuselage, directly below the right side of the cockpit, and did not detonate. August 13th, 1944 was my most satisfying mission because it proved to me the value of operating by the book. As a countermeasure to Jerry's strafe in the front lines at dusk to minimize interference by our fighters, we began patrolling the front every evening. On this date, we had 8 ships up and spotted 10 plus 109s heading east on the deck. I lined up behind one that seemed to be a leader. As we came into range, my mind suddenly filled with everything I had ever learned and practiced for such a situation. Wait until those wingtips fill the ring sight. You're a little above him. Pull the pipper out a bit in front of his nose. Check the needle and ball. You don't want to be skidding. I squeezed the trigger, and immediately everything from the 50s converged on his engine. He rolled over and went in. His wingman must have been surprised. I gave him a short burst. I guess the tracers passing over his wings was too much. He immediately jettisoned the canopy and bailed out. I circled as he floated down, and when he landed, he calmly pulled in his chute, tucked it under his arm, and waved and walked away. The 8 of us destroyed 8 and damaged 3. The best day the squadron ever had.
I loved that airplane. Reactions to a woman climbing out of a P-51 during the war were varied, mostly startled. I wouldn't have cared what anyone said as long as they let me fly it. Once I flew into a field that was off limits, but the weather was bad and I had a slight mechanical problem, so I called in and I asked for permission to land. I kept radioing, P-51, ready to land, awaiting final landing instructions. It was sort of garbled, and they kept asking me to call in again and again. Finally, they said, "Waggle your wings if you receive." So there I was, waggling away, and pretty soon they came back, "Lady, the only thing we see up there is a P-51. Where are you?" I replied, "That's me. I am the P-51. They couldn't believe it. They were looking for a Piper Cub or something. Finally, when I landed, what a welcome I got. Word got around that a gal was flying that thing. They were darlings. By the time I had taxied up to the line, following that little follow-me truck, there were a lot of guys around to see what kind of a woman was flying this P-51. They'd never heard of us, the Wasps.
One of the unusual things about the Mustang is its lack of emergency systems. Very simply, there aren't any. If the engine quits, maintain a best glide speed of 175 miles an hour and pick the best spot. Though fighters have the reputation for coming down like a brick, most have excellent glide ratios, far better than the average general aviation aircraft. For example, from 10,000 feet, you can glide 29 statute miles. That's a healthy 3 miles per 1,000 feet of descent. However, those miles really slide by at 175, so you have to react quickly.
There is nothing like the view out of a fighter. And we're heading back to the airport now. Looking right down the nose is a thrilling sight, but you get kind of captured by that. This airplane will go 300 miles an hour just with the nose slightly down. So you have to pre-plan your descents into an airport. If you don't plan long ahead of time what you're going to do, you're going to come by the airport 300 miles an hour way too high. You can't land. So it's a pre-planning airplane. It's a fighter plane. It is not your regular, everyday, go have lunch at a regular airport airplane. The flaps can be used as air brakes, but you really don't want to have to be using flaps all the time if you can help it. We're going to make a 360-degree overhead approach, standard military approach. And what that allows us to do is come into the airport at about 250 miles an hour, and if we lose an engine, we'll make the runway. It's a very safe approach. And we'll report initial, and then do the brake over the airport.
Ground personnel were gleeful targets for playful pilots, and more than once I hit the sod or dove off my bike as a P-51 streaked down the perimeter track at close to 400 miles per hour, with the prop tips only about a foot above the asphalt. I remember once, as we got up and were dusting ourselves off, someone said, "Good God, did you notice? We were looking down on top of his wing." Another time, I was on my bike in an exposed area on the perimeter when I saw this guy coming at me in a long power dive. I thought it was for scaring the hell out of me, but I guess he didn't have that in mind, because he passed at a respectable distance. You know, it's strange, but those buzz jobs remain among my fondest memories of those days. It was pure envy.
Radiators are automatic. And we're ready. Looking good. Coming down below 170 miles an hour. Coming out your flap. Lower the gear with one positive push on the handle. 3 green. Coming down below 160 miles an hour. We'll start our main turn. Looking good. turbine around to the runway. We're bleeding below 130 now. And line it up on the numbers. Everything looks real healthy. Double check 3 degrees. Full flap. But I generally like to make a tail wheel low or a 3-point landing. Just because the airplane can do it. Most people wheel land them. It is easier to wheel land, but a 3-point landing requires a little bit more experience. But the airplane does quit flying and you get that wonderful tail wheel steering right on the ground when you need it. Now we're down to 120, approaching the numbers. We want about 100 when we come over, 100 to 90 miles an hour. Something like that. Here we go. Power's coming on. And right down to the runway. And pull the power off and she's on. And just, it's a wonderful handling airplane. Tail wheel steering is on. And it's really not hard. The airplane decelerates quite well. The steering is really effortless in a Mustang. Everybody will tell you that the tail wheel steering in a Mustang is its heart as far as handling. Mojave ground 727, clear the active, taxi to the ramp.
Flying fighters is one of those dreams people have when they think about life's ultimate experiences. Shutting down a Merlin brings the realization that the dreams come true. When I was learning to fly, I looked down a long tunnel toward what I really wanted to fly, and there sat the P-51, along with a couple of other dream machines. It really does fly as good as it looks, and it was a privilege to bring you with me. I look forward to having you along for the next Roaring Glory.